had to take y'all back for a minute. Our next guest, gentlemen, is none other than Karen with a K. But she's not just Karen with a K. She's also been a lot of other characters throughout her years. She's definitely one of the more celebrated 80's babes. She released a book recently that she is just, I actually saw her when we met at the Comic-Con, and she was promoting the book. And, I mean, it's just I've been reading it. I've definitely been loving this book. We got Diane Franklin on the line with us. Diane, are you there?
Ooh, you are making me blush. I love it.
Welcome to the show. All right, so now let me just take the time and introduce to you my Jedi Council. All right, I am the director, as you already know. The Jedi Council, we have over here, we got Ralph. Ralph, say hello to Diane.
Hello,
Hi,
Diane
Ralph.
Franklin. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad you're there.
Yes, I'm looking forward to this all week.
We also have our boy Legion, a.k.a. Kevin. He's on the line. Kev, say what's up to Diane.
How you doing, Diane Franklin? It is such an honor. Oh, man, I'm beside just like Ralph and everybody else. I've been waiting all week for this. This is just...
my gosh, are you serious?
I went to the marathon yesterday just to get myself prepared for this because this is awesome.
That's the sweetest thing. Thank you so much. That's really nice.
That is awesome. And we also have one of our other hosts on Dollhouse Radio, who one of my partners in crime, actually blood related to this gentleman, and he is Heaven Hollywood. The Heaven Hollywood Experience comes on every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Heaven Hollywood, say what's up to Diane Franklin.
Miss Diane Franklin, it is a pleasure and honor. I've been waiting all week for this moment, and I do appreciate you checking in with Dollhouse Radio.
My pleasure.
Yes.
I am so happy that you're here, too. We're going to have a good time. This is great.
Yes,
I got to tell you guys, I'm just really impressed, like you were talking about all the other girls, and I'm thinking, wow, you remembered me. Like, out of all these girls, seriously, there were a very large multitude of 80's babes, and I'm just glad to be included in it, but let alone, you guys being excited on the phone. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. I mean, first of all, your first film was one of my favorite films, from the 80s. I mean, I like, it was right up there. I watched my fair share of all types of films from the 80s, the Porkies and all the craziness on those shows. But I don't know, something about Last American Virgin that really, got me. I can watch that. It's one of those films where when it comes on, if it happens to come on TV or if you see it, if someone has it playing, I got to stop and watch it just for a little bit.
I'll tell you something which is so amazing is that when I did that role, that was my first role in a feature film. I mean, I had been acting before that in commercials and modeling and theater and soap opera, but that was my first film role. And when we did that film, we didn't think anybody would really see it, and let alone it becomes sort of iconic. And but what's so amazing is it's so. I just love that film because it's so iconic and it's so true. It still rings true today. I mean, it's so 80s, and it's just like there's so many great things. The music is great. The clothes are amazing. I mean, you just go back in time, and that was early 80s. So that started really my career when I did that film. That really what was catapulted me as far as being remembered. But I also have to say I just love the roles I played because it was so just she was such a you didn't see it coming. I'm sorry guys, but
it was
because I think that, like, Last American Virgin, if you haven't seen the film, I'm not going to blow the ending for you, but it's a remake of a film called Lemon Popsicle. Don't say anything.
Yep.
And Lemon Popsicle was made into, like, I don't know, 10 movies. I mean, it was made into so many sequels. Yeah. But Last American Virgin,
like
only one
films,
film.
Yeah.
Only one. Brett Ratner originally was interested in making a remake of it, but I don't know. He was going to produce it, but I haven't heard anything since. But it's one of those films
that was one of my questions.
Yeah, they were. I don't know what's going on. I was actually going to call Boaz and ask him, but so many things have happened. I mean, I just actually did a film called Electric Boogaloo. It was a documentary film, and it was about the people who made Virgin. It was about Menachem and Yoram Golan and Globus from Canon Films, and we were talking about the movie, and
wow.
I didn't realize what a guerrilla film that was. Like, I didn't realize when I did it that it was sort of this, sort of independent film that people just, they came and they...
Lickety-split productions.
Yeah, exactly, really. It was like, this location, well, I don't know if we're going to pay for it, but let's get out of here fast, And I didn't know that. I'm coming in as an actress and just doing my thing. But it was, and again, like, it was basically all of our first movie. I mean, Lawrence Monason, Steve Anson, Kimmy Robertson, and I would say, like, our first big movie together. And
right.
I think just because of that, it really made us bond. And I think people can see, you watch the movie first. You don't look at that movie and say, oh, that's Demi Moore in a movie, or that's Molly Ringwald in a movie. You watch the movie and you go, I just believe that these people are who they are. And
right.
I think that's what also makes it really special. It's not like I was overexposed in a way that people couldn't get into the story. So today, I mean, I never even realized it, but I was sort of a cult actress. I went and did all these independent films that people wouldn't associate necessarily me. It wasn't like, Diane Franklin in this movie. It was like, oh, there she is again. Oh, who's that? There's that actress.
Yeah.
So I think that's what makes it cool for me, because I don't ruin the story. I just, kind of fit into whatever was happening then.
Fit right in. And I mean, so one of my questions you kind of answered, was about, I heard about a remake, and Brett Ratner was supposed to produce it or direct it or something like that. And since you already know about it, I guess the second part to that question was, what do you think about that, and do you think you would participate in it, like maybe cameo? I mean, I think any remake should always pay homage to the original. So. Well,
that's very funny you say that, because when I first found out about it, what happened was, I guess Brett Ratner was talking on Howard Stern. And so he was talking about how when he was like 12 years old, I was the girl that he had a crush on in a major way. So what happened was, I think he felt very close to
Take a number.
Yeah. And I was like, So what do? I'm like, so I get these calls from all my friends, like, oh my gosh, Brett Ratner has like this crush on you, and like he wants to do a remake, and I'm like, what? So I called his agent at CAA, and I'm like, hello, like, I'm just letting you know, if he's going to do this movie, he's got to put me in it. I mean, I'll, a small thing, not even because of anything except for the fact that it will be such an amazing callback for all the people who saw the movie originally. So then what happened was, I talked to Boaz. I met with him because I needed to talk to him about my book. I needed his photo in it, and I was talking to him about it. And he told me that they were considering it. I guess Brett was originally considering directing it, and then he was considering producing it. But whatever, I don't know what happened. But but I told him, I said, if you do it, I said you should consider me for a specific role, because I thought this would be the ultimate fantasy. Okay, listen to this. Check this out. What if I went back in that movie and played the prostitute?
Oh, wow.
Okay.
That's funny. I was thinking about that. I was thinking about possibly one of the other characters, the prostitute. That would be funny, though. That would be funny.
Because that's what happened to Karen. You'd never have to say my name. You'd just be like, see me, and you go, oh, no. Oh, my God, that's what happened to her. See, that's what happens to her, right? Yeah,
that's what everyone really thinks.
So that's what would be, it would be a really good, cinch it, So, but you want to hear something hilarious? I mean, how great would that be, right? That would be so funny.
That'd be awesome.
Like people would go, oh my god, because the audience would watch the movie, but then everybody who's seen the first one would be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she did that. But
that's a perfect cameo, though.
I got right. This week, I think that this movie, Quentin Tarantino may have seen it because he said he thought I was like, he always said liked me as well, or liked my work or whatever, or like me,
boy.
I don't know, It was kind of funny. I was like,
if
wow, that movie certainly got around.
You win him over, you might get your own movie. He'll write a movie around you. Just ask,
but that's just kind of cool. You said Quentin Tarantino just texted me out the blue, like, hey, what's going on? Like, wow.
Right. Yeah, no. I mean, like, that's to me, like, it's kind of funny, I mean, the thing that I've been so fortunate to have is I've done so many different kinds of movies. I've done like really like serious. I mean, Virgin is like gritty. It's real, It's not light. It's like got this, real sexiness, and I'm, I'm all hot looking and everything. I mean, it's just kind of, it's real, It's early 80s, and then you get like, Better Off Dead, mid 80s, fun, upbeat, more of like her, sweet and cute. And then you get like TerrorVision, later 80s, and I'm like this 80s, it was sort of it was like a recall to the early 80s, the punk look and the exercise videos, and the whole thing was sort of like a comment to the 80s. And then there's Bill and Ted, which is the most commercially successful film I've been in. But it was so many different, and then Amityville. I did Amityville 2. And so that was very dramatic. Yeah. So, and then I've done a lot of television as well.
To say the least.
Is that I got a lot of different genres, So people could see me, if you didn't necessarily want to see a film, but you liked the genre, I had some, different, I got to be seen by a lot of different people in a lot of different ways.
Now, you mentioned once in your book, and your book is called Diane Franklin, The Excellent Adventures of the Last American French Exchange Babe of the 80s. That's a mouthful.
Exactly. It's the longest title you'll ever hear, right?
Mm-hmm. It's awesome.
Diane Franklin book on Amazon. That's all you need. Diane Franklin on Amazon.
Yeah. I've been reading it, and you mentioned it in your book one time about how you felt about the script for Virgin, and you mentioned in there where you said something where you was going to speak to Boaz, and he was open to your suggestions, and you did say you remember thinking you were going to ask him to change the ending of the script, but then you followed that up with a sentence that said, that's when I learned I was the actress, not the writer.
Right.
Now, coming from a director myself, I kind of understand what you're saying, but I wanted you to expand on that because I've worked with plenty of actresses, and I'm a director that's kind of I'm pretty loose with my directing. I like the actor to create. As long as you stick to the main idea of the script, don't change too many words if you can help it. And if it comes out
then
natural.
I'll work with you.
Right. But now, at that point, sometimes I do have to step and say, hey, how about you do it the way I wrote it? You know what I mean? Like, they're like, how about we do it this way? And I'm like, well, how about we do it the way we wrote it?
Yeah.
So, what did he say to you that made you write that? And say that's when you found out you was the actress, not the writer.
What he said to me was that it was based on his life story. It was based on a true story. It was his life, and you just couldn't argue with that. I mean, well, here's the thing that was so funny. When I went and I was with him, I'm starting off, I don't know, and I must say that I think today there's a lot more improv in acting, which is a great thing, and it's a stylized thing. It represents the generation, but at that time, you had to stick with the exact script, and you have to make lines that really aren't very natural sometimes, completely natural. So that was the trick of the 80s in acting, that you had to take these lines sometimes that were like, oh my gosh, this is not natural, but just make them as natural as you can. So what happened was when I went to him, and you can hear how much I talk, you know, I went to him and I'm thinking, you know, oh, this isn't right. And we all of us went up to Boaz and were like, you're not going to leave it like this, right? You're not going to have this ending. No, you're not, right? This isn't going to happen, right? Or we'll fix it later in post, right? This is going to be what's happening. And
that's
he's
a
like,
classic
no,
director brush off. We'll fix it in post.
I can't imagine. You know, since then, I would love to have $1 for every time he said no, we're going to keep that ending. In fact, when they did or when they were considering doing the remake of the movie, even the writers today who were writing it for him asked to change the ending. And he said no. He said, he called me and said, convince them that you can't change the ending. And you can't, because if you did, this is why we cannot let Virgin go. This is why it rings so true. This movie would not be remembered for what it was if that ending didn't happen. Every person in the theater leaves that movie saying, what?
Yeah,
or,
like what the hell? Really?
Yeah, or they call me the Beaver, which is fine.
Yeah. I personally went the other way with it and was like, I kind of, you know, it's not that I hated your character, but I kind of blamed the other character. I'm like, you know, this guy is such a wimp. You know, he says, this guy is such a lame. Yeah, I used to call that the loser anthem at the end. The song at the end. That's the loser's anthem.
but you are right. Mostly everyone was saying, what a bitch.
And I've gotten so many different responses from that movie. Like, it is true. Like, some people said, well, Gary was a creep. You know, he was weird on me, you know, or a creep or a weirdo. I no wonder.
He was kind of a creep.
Right? Because he's following
he's following you around.
You know?
Flattening your tires.
And then people are like, oh, my gosh, I was such a bitch. The funny part was when I did the film, the thing I think, again, that made it so interesting is, okay, I don't know, if another actress had played the role, I really don't think it would have had the same impact, because I made her so innocent, and you did not see it coming.
Right.
You didn't see it coming because I didn't want to play her, like, honestly, I wouldn't have wanted to do that. I wouldn't have done that in real life. So I felt like I couldn't get behind somebody just being a jerk. You wouldn't have wanted to follow her. You wouldn't have wanted to fall in love with her. I mean, you wouldn't have done any of that. And you had to see what was in Gary's eyes. He saw me, and you shouldn't see it coming. And then when it does, you're like, oh, are you kidding me? Oh, my gosh. I mean, to this day, I still get surprised.
He set himself up a little bit.
Actually, I'd like to ask you a question. You know what? Now that I'm hearing you talk about that character, do you think that your character was the inspiration for the character Jenny in Forrest Gump?
Ooh. I don't know. That's a lovely question.
Because if
you if it's up to me, like I always look at Virgin like nobody saw that film. I mean, so for it to be an inspiration for anything, I would be phenomenal. Because I always saw it as something like, oh, it was not a main, you know, it wasn't in the limelight. It wasn't, you know, who would remember it? But you know, I do think you're right. Like a lot of people, I think, were affected by that film and maybe, you know, have a little bit of that in their in different sports. Very possible. You never know.
I remember feeling similar feelings to how Jenny kind of treated Forrest, but a little bit different only because they grew up together as opposed to you know, with your film. But I think that I think some of the disappointment is probably what had people you know. But I tell you, with Karen, her innocence, you do innocence very well. I like that though. And we move on to Patricia. You don't see
that, you know. All the girls are like, I mean,
Patricia.
There's so many girls who are sassy and hot and, you know, nasty and like, okay, fine, you know, there's place for that. But the innocence is what is so. It's just it's a character. I mean, you fall in love with innocence. You know, that's like something. I don't know, like, and also, honestly, it's like part of me. I mean, I got to say, like, every actress brings across something that they feel and they understand. And I'm very sincere in when I perform. I'm not faking it. So I feel like, it's important. When you're acting, you have to bring of yourself. You have to give. And you have to be vulnerable. And so that's what I am. There you go.
And before we get to, because I know Kevin wants to ask something about Amityville. That was one of his favorite films when you portrayed Patricia Montelli. But my last actual note for Virgin was another excerpt out of your book where you said how it occurred to you that it occurred to me that Karen was one of those people who are extremely unopinionated and just reacts to the moment. She has no center, no self, no identity. She gravitates to whoever is nicest to her at the moment. And that's how you knew how to play her. I thought that was a great insight on the character because you basically broke down what I was thinking about the character. I'm like, yeah, she was kind of just walking to whatever. She was honest. One day I gave a question. She was honest as far as she didn't have a boyfriend, not at the time, when he asked her. And, it just, things worked out the way they did for her. But I thought that's going to always stay in everybody's minds, hearts, and movie database.
Thank you. I have to tell you something about that. The thing is that kind of character is very, very rarely portrayed. Seeing a young girl who's innocent and seeing her duped and seeing her, sort of being a weak character and taken advantage of is more common. But to see a young girl who is, she's feminine, but she doesn't have a sense of herself. And there's so many girls out there, and you guys know, you've seen them. They're just really vulnerable. They don't have a sense of how they come across. They don't have a sense of the messages maybe they're giving out. They're extremely impressionable and vulnerable, and they're quiet. And I really wanted to represent that kind of vulnerability in the character. It's almost like the kind of girl who, hangs out with the cool crowd, but she's not the center girl, I don't know. It was a character that I hadn't seen in anything, but I thought that I really wanted to represent that and play that character, And I have to also say, Boaz, he fell in love with this was a true story, so he fell in love with a real girl. And when he finished Last American Virgin, and I saw also obviously the Lemon Popsicle movies, he showed it to that girl, and they just cried. She had no idea that she did that to him, which I found out way later, which was like, whoa. Imagine seeing the girl. I was like, oh my gosh.
That is tough. So we move on to Patricia Montelli, and we're talking with Diane Franklin here on Real Talk with the director of the Jedi Council on Dollhouse Radio. Patricia Montelli, now, that's a completely different character from Karen.
And I did that film right after Virgin.
Yeah, you would definitely, I could imagine, because you look kind of the same, but your hair was less curly, a little more, blown out. And so playing that character, first of all, ironically, for people who do not know, the Amityville Horror 2, The Possession, which was based on the real story, but the film was not shot in Amityville. You grew up in Long Island.
Yeah.
You grew up in Long Island, correct?
I did, and that was the super awesome part about getting that part.
Yeah, I'm a Long Islander, and
all right.
So I'm born and raised out here on Long Island. So you knew growing up about the Amityville story of the house and all that stuff. Were you surprised that you didn't take any shots in Amityville at all?
I did.
Shot in Amityville.
Exactly. Well, I'm glad that, when I got the part, I knew about Amityville and I knew about the murders, but I didn't research anything because I didn't want to be scared, I wanted to play it real innocent. And in fact, I looked so young in that movie that I mean, I look back and go, whoa, like, that is crazy. It looks really, really young. Talk about innocent. And, again, that movie out of the 3 films, I mean, I don't know, maybe the movie that is the movie everyone always goes, oh, that's my favorite, but people love that movie, which is hilarious. Again, I'm thinking, who sees part 2 of Amityville, you know? But people love this movie because it's so scary and real. And then there's the incest, which is not in any, like, I can't even, maybe on my hand I can count how many movies have that subject matter and deal with it in a real way. It's real.
Yeah, that was real.
Yeah.
Very few.
That was the thing that really got me about the movie was the realism of it, because of what it touched. You know, with the, you know, aside from the exorcisms and, you know, the demon side of it, but just the real construction. That's what really got me, because if you grew up in the 80s on Long Island, you got screamed at by your parents. You got your butt beat by your parents.
Oh yeah, it's Italian and it's Jewish and it's ethnic. I mean, Irish. You know, it's like it was like, you know, it's very like passionate and like, you know, strong guys and machismo, and you know, you could relate to that for sure. Yeah. It didn't have to be in a horror movie.
That was the thing. They made you. I even like the one thing that I loved about it was the scene where you guys got in the mirror and they used that as a family portrait. It was the little things like that they used to like make you get more into the family. That gave you an attachment to the family. They did a lot of warm stuff, and then they just interrupted that with just like this break loose arguing and fighting. Dad is about to knock somebody out for real.
Well, you know, that was because the director was Italian. He totally got that, you know, family arguing and passionate and like this like unrest and but because he didn't speak English very well, you know, he was I guess known for his movies in Italy. Damiano Damiani. He's unfortunately just, you know, passed away, I think, within the last couple of years. He was all about the visual, and one of the things I remember is when I did the film, we would watch dailies. At the time, there were still dailies. Dailies mean you shoot on film, and then like the day or two later, they actually show the film on the big screen, and you get to see all the takes. Unlike today, which you can see, you know, right away after you've done.
Right there, yeah, exactly.
And so we're watching them, and we're watching these like mirrors crack and the steps, you know, shots of the steps and clocks, and it's not scary. It's not scary. I'm thinking, why are they shooting all these like mundane kind of shots where there's like, you know, they're looking at a window, but the minute you put the music on, the music just transcends, and now it's frightening because your imagination is just terrifying.
It's just like just like you said in your book. With horror films, everything comes with the editing in the end. Everything is in post production. That's when a horror film comes together, all in post, because that's when the story together.
Yeah, my favorite films are the ones that you don't see. You see part of something, but you don't see the whole thing. You know, it's that lead up. I mean, I actually recently saw Amityville when I was in London last year, and they had a screening of it, and I hadn't seen the whole thing for such a long time, and it was so scary. I could see why people would have nightmares, you know.
Yeah, I many a night last sleeping, but I do have one. The body bag scene, bringing you out of the house. That was like, I don't. But for me, growing up, that was like the biggest thing for me. The body bag scenes when they unzip it and they show the eerie face. How was that experience for you? Because in your book, you said you loved it. That was like your favorite.
I loved it. I loved it. I thought it was so fun. I know that's really weird. I thought it was so much fun. I mean, I got in the bag. And, I mean, it was just. To me, I guess, when are you going to die? I mean, you don't see yourself dead. So it was like, this is hilarious. I'm in the bag. I'm like just closing my eyes or I'm looking. I mean, just it was so much fun, you know, and I die and then I come back and haunt. I guess it's just, it probably was just like Halloween to me. I mean, I enjoyed it. did not creep me out at all. Perhaps if I had ever, had someone I knew murdered or a horrible death, I probably would not want to get in that bag for sure. Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Right.
But again, because I just didn't surround myself with that, and I just came from such a pure place. It's just the whole thing was an adventure. I wanted to do a horror film. I know, when that movie came up and I got the script, that one of the things I said as an actress to myself was I definitely wanted to do a horror film. So I was really happy when I ultimately decided to take the role, because I wanted to have that experience.
Now what did you do for a source of energy, or where did you go to did you obviously because you said already that you didn't really have any contact with the DeFeo family, you really didn't look up any information or anything on the murders. So where did you pull your inspiration from? Because you brought out an innocence that it was just awesome. It was really, really awesome, and it was so believable. It was so believable, and how you even in I hate to go there, but even with the incest scene, there was a naivety that was just it was just so natural. And like I said, from the build-up of how the director, gave the attachment to the family, now you're looking at this okay, why is this girl breakneck running out the room my brother is touching me and placing
me? I have a great answer for you. This is exactly, I'm so glad you brought this up because, okay, so look, now this is the interesting part. This movie, if they had cast a girl who was tougher, kind of like a streetwise kid, she wouldn't have stayed in that bed. She would not have.
No.
She would not have. She would have been F you and get away from me. She would have fought. I mean, she would have been leave me alone. So the key was, again, when you're getting a script, you got to make it make sense, and you got to use what the writer writes. At least at that time, you couldn't suddenly go, oh, well, she wouldn't say this, or you had to use what was given. And to me, my whole thing, again, was I wanted to bring this character, this girl, this idea of a girl who has who is so, she trusts her brother so much. She trusts her father. She doesn't have friends on the outside, She's one of those girls that doesn't have people on the outside to confide in. And she wouldn't be confiding because she's got problems at home. So she's going to be just staying with the nucleus of the family. And she's not a tough girl. She's kind of tries to be a little tough, but she's very soft and quiet and vulnerable. And she just is hoping that it's all going to go away. She's just praying that everything's just going to be okay. And then when her brother comes on to her in that moment, it's I wanted to express that when something bad happens to you, you are not prepared for it. The first thing that's going to happen is you're going to be frozen and shocked, and you're going to say to yourself, this is not happening. And I wanted to have, I really wanted to make sure that kind of character was represented, at least, because that's how I think if that situation happened with me, that would be what my reaction would be. It would have been something more I am not prepared for this, and I don't know what to do. And almost if you did say something like this is happening, then you'd be admitting that it would be true, but you don't want to do that because it's your brother. Do you know what I'm saying? So I felt and again, this all came from me having to make the script real. I mean, if the script said that she ran away, then I could have acted completely different. But because I had to stay there, it was okay, in what way can I bring this to be happening? Why wouldn't she leave? And people have said to me, oh, I understand why he did it, but why did she do it? But she did it because she didn't do it. She froze. And she wasn't just a victim. She was stuck. She was caught. She was enmeshed. It's not simple. If you have incest like that, it's not simple. It's not going to be this is wrong and this is right. It's your family. It's the only people you know. You don't know any other way. You don't know any other person. So that's my take on the character. When I played that, I felt that I don't know think that kind of point of view has been represented, and I felt that's what was true to me to see. That's what I would.
I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like the way you presented it because you showed the struggle between her love for him as a brother, and then you showed the emotional side. But when he snapped at her, that's when she snapped to him. Like, wait a minute, what am I doing? Okay, I'm falling in love with my brother. Yeah. And then when that was her wake up moment. Like, okay, I'm in a bad spot. I need to get the father and talk to him so I can get this thing out. I love the way you put that character together. You really, like I said, it's authentic.
Not simple, and it's not, and like that's why life, sometimes people really have go through incest. I mean, my gosh, this is not a simple situation. If it was, they would just say, I'm not taking it, I'm leaving. There's a lot of emotional ties. There's probably there's family familiarity. So that's why I think it's like personal hell, So I think if you've ever been in a situation where it wasn't a simple decision, I mean, and I think that it's kind of funny too. Virgin has that same thing. It's like these are examples of characters that can't make a simple decision. They have to deal with it, and they're not going to, run away, but they're sort of just there. And it's great to be able to watch a character just sort of be there, and you kind of follow them. I don't know. I find a lot of guys find a lot of connection to my character, and they feel very empathetic. I don't know.
You do.
You feel bad for her, man. I felt bad for her. I knew that she was definitely being manipulated. I mean, which I thought that Jack Magner, was that his name?
Yeah.
Who played? I think he did an excellent job at that character, and that whole scene was so serious. That scene was like, it wasn't nothing like, as much as us in the 80s, we loved looking at Diane Franklin, but that was nothing, that was serious. You know what I mean? We were like, wait a minute.
Yeah. And it was early 80s again. Early 80s was coming off the 70s, and we got like that Taxi Driver, and like we've got the really gritty, Dog Day Afternoon, I think. Those movies that were just so real. Then when you get to the mid 80s, that's when you've got the fun, upbeat,
right, the more crazy stuff like
teen films.
But I like
teen for the lead.
Stuff.
I
really love the way you put it together. I echo what Kevin said. I love the way you put the character together there.
Thank you.
One other thing you mentioned in your
it.
book now. Oh, no problem. One thing you mentioned in the book was about that role. Now, you were contracted to do partial nudity, and one of the producers actually pulled you aside and attempted to get you to do full nudity for that scene.
And that was Gina De Laurentiis who did that, and and here I am. Okay, I'm 20 years old in Mexico by myself, and and he like brings me to the front of this limousine, and he's like, okay, so let's talk. I want to tell you, they're beautiful in this film, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and here I am. I mean, I think about like my own daughter. I'm thinking, how could that even be possible? Young girl, and you have to deal with this. I had parents. It wasn't like I was abandoned. I'm an agent and a manager, and here's this guy, and he's like trying to get me to, coercing me to do more, and I'm like, no, because if again, in a movie, if you honestly, it's more interesting to you show. It's better if you show less and there's more intrigue than there is to show everything and people go whatever. I mean, when I played a character, I played the character of Eve in this other movie, Second Time Lucky. I mean, if you're playing the character of Eve, okay, then there's some reason to not have much to wear. I mean, let's face it. But that's in fact, if you're going to be real, that's real. But in this, it doesn't make it better or worse. I think it was not. It was just I think the director, the producer, doing his job, which was he's trying to get the most for his money, and so that was
right. That's true.
In my book. Again, when people read my book, they're going to be very surprised because I start off talking about how I kind of got into the business and as an actress. I had no connections at all, but it really I think I tried to be very open in my book and real, so that people really get a sense of what it was like to get in the movies, to be in the movies, but then also like to have this amazing career, you know. So
yeah, I mean, I think it's, you know, I've been reading it and I'm really enjoying it. I like the way you were being very honest in the book, and like I said, some of those things that you point out about the business itself, I think are interesting as you you know, learning as you're going along. So that you kind of went back and brought us back through that whole experience, almost as if you was writing it along the way. You know what I mean?
yeah, well,
so
I know, isn't it?
I thought you did a good job at bringing us there. And
the other thing I want to mention is for doing, you know, all these things is I was really fortunate that I got a lot of leads, because I mean, and I did television movies as well. I had leads in these films, and to me, like I was born in such a lucky time, because when I was acting, teenagers could be leads, and that wasn't a given in the 70s. You know, you could play. I mean, let's put it this way. I mean, I was over 18, but I could play main characters, and I could be a soft, feminine character and play a lead, and that wasn't a given. You know, you always had to be. You know, when you played a teenager, you know, it was Jodie Foster or, there's another Bad News Bears. I'm thinking,
Tatum O'Neal.
Tatum O'Neal, right? And that was it. You know, or unless it was television. You know, the actresses that when you were playing a teen, it was more of a tomboy. But the 80s came, and all of a sudden it switched everything. And honestly, I really think Virgin kicked off that whole teen. Well, actually, Pretty Baby came first, and that's what Brooke brought in that sexuality as a young girl, and then Virgin came in, and then after that, it just, teen films exploded. It was like, boom, you know, they just, there were so many movies that were, you know, made about teenagers as the central part of the story, you know.
Right.
So that's what the 80s, really. Just
for the record, we wouldn't have, you know, back then we wouldn't have minded the full nudity. Just
right.
saying. Yeah. Us as fans, we definitely wouldn't have minded that.
But today, you know, you get on the internet. I don't know. It's not as whatever, right? There you had to pay your $5 or whatever.
Now, what was it that? And this is Heaven Hollywood, Dollhouse Radio. What was it that you actually said to the producer, as in, you know, when he did try to get you to do the what? Do you remember exactly what you said to him to shut him down? As far as, you know, did you just say, well, no, I'm not doing that, or did he ask for an explanation of why you didn't want to do that?
He didn't get specific, except for the fact that he was saying, you know, the body's a beautiful thing and there's nothing wrong with it. And like, I totally get that whole, I mean, it's Italian, so like it's like this, you know, and it's a beautiful, you know, and like, of course, you know, European sensibility is that, you know, nudity is awesome, and they're more concerned about violence, you know, guns and, you know, that kind of thing. So I totally understood that. My parents are European. I totally got that. But for me, you know, I just was like, no, that wasn't in my contract. I was like, here he is trying to kind of like talk to me like a woman, and I'm sort of going, no, it's not in my contract, you know. So I'm very kind of, yeah.
That was the best way to answer it. Wasn't in my contract.
Not my contract. You know, didn't pay for that part. Nope.
On the job description.
Yeah.
That's
pretty funny, you know.
Yeah, I mean, no, I thought that was.
I'm sure, you know, he was probably very surprised. I mean, here I am. He's like this. Maybe 50-year-old something. Big time producer. I mean, worked with Jessica Lange, and here's this little actress telling him, no, this isn't my contract. Sorry, no, not going to be happy.
Well, we're talking with Diane Franklin. We got Diane Franklin on the line here. 646-595-4038. We're running. You know, time is running. It's just flying, man. I wish we're going to have to do a part 2 with you or something, because there's so much to talk to you about. And it's like, as long as you wouldn't mind coming back with us one day.
Sure.
You know,
hey, listen, you got to tell everybody, if you're listening to this, I know this is really bizarre, but you got to friend me on Facebook. That is, you're going to go. I know that's kind of a strange thing. I'm still after all these years so not professional about this, but go to Facebook, look for a black and white picture of me, black and white from Better Off Dead. I have like this coat and hat on, and Diane Franklin. That's actually me. And if you friend me, then that's where you will get to my place, my hub. Like it's like I'm doing a convention in Chicago in August. The Chicago Hollywood show. I'm going to be there for autograph signing, and that's the first time I've ever been in Chicago, which is totally cool. And then I'm also going to be there's a screening of Better Off Dead, and I'm going to be there at the theater, and I think it's called the Palm Theater, but it's that Saturday night. It's like I think it's August 16th, 15th, 16th, 17th, I mean that weekend, and then I'm only Saturday night of that weekend I'll be there for the screening. So if you're there, I mean, I'll have pictures and autographs, I'll be signing my book, and I'm going to do a Q&A there. So there's, I mean, that's what's on my Facebook page. I'll post them. So.
Are you coming to the New York City Comic-Con in October?
Oh, I wish. Not this year. I went last year, I think. So, you know, I don't go every year.
So
like it's whenever. Yeah, that's right. Wasn't that fun? You were so awesome. He grabbed me. He was like, yeah, I know you. And that was really fun. I loved it. So I'm glad that you got a chance to meet, because I wouldn't be talking to you if you didn't, right? So
exactly. No, that was awesome. I took my picture and everything. And I was showing that picture to everybody. They was like, oh, man, Diane Franklin. I was like, yeah, man, yeah. I'm like, so we're cool. That's my hope.
If I come back to New York, I'm going to post it, and I'm going to let you know so you can come meet me in person. We'll talk some more there for sure.
Perfect. That'd be awesome because definitely, I want to definitely get you back on, as soon as possible. We'll talk some more stuff with you. The book goes through so much. It's like so much to talk about.
I gotta get you on my show,
I got to mention one more thing. I got to say one more thing. My daughter is a filmmaker. She makes movies.
Yes.
And I'm acting in her movies now, and she is hilarious. And she just did something recently.
I saw a short film of hers. I was just watching about the postcards. I mean, about
right. That's her most recent. She's hilarious, right?
Yeah. It's pretty funny. I thought it was cute. I thought it was very cute. And I knew that was her. I didn't look at any credits. I said, that's got to be her daughter.
That's so cool. Her name is Olivia.
Her daughter,
yeah. Right?
Her daughter looks like her, dudes. I just want to let y'all know that.
Watch out for her. I'm telling you. She's
like her too.
Amazing.
Yeah, she directs. I was reading up on that, and I did see that. That's awesome. I'd like to get her on the show as well and interview her. Because this show, we talk all, film and television stuff, so directors, actors are all welcome to come.
Well, she's great, and you're going to see a lot of her.
I'm going to be sending you some stuff because I want to work with you. So I'm going to be sending you some stuff.
So if you go to YouTube or find your Olivia De Laurentiis, and it's one word, DeLaurentis, you'll see a lot of the footage she's done. She's been making movies since she was little. She writes, directs, acts, and edits, and I'm in her movies. And she just did a boy band parody called Devin Bright and the Sensitive Boys. And when she's done, she'll probably put a trailer on YouTube. We put the trailers on because when you submit the films to film festivals, they just want to have the rights. So, but at some point, all her films, she'll have her out. And oh my gosh, she is hilarious. And I have to say, just stunning. But I'm her mom. So, but she is.
Hey,
she is.
You gotta put that out there, man. Definitely talk to her, and if she wants to come on the show and talk some film stuff, perfect. I can always. I can talk about film for hours.
Aw, she's.
Well, we want to thank you for.
It sounds like me. Well, thank you.
We want to thank you for
That's
coming.
Great.
You're just so awesome. Talking with you is just like we're just kicking and having a conversation, and I can go on.
Yeah, we're kicking it. I love it. Well, thank you guys. You're wonderful. And I had a great time.
We'll be posting out your Facebook page so people can go ahead and find you on Facebook and figure, look into everything that you're doing. You're going to be at the Comic-Con and you're going to be in Chicago. Right?
Yep,
so,
Chicago, August 15th, 16th, 17th. Yeah.
Perfect.
So come see me. Whoever's there, come see me.
Oh, yeah, if we can, we'll get out there. I mean, we go to these conventions all the time, so we be out there. We'll be looking for you, and we got contacts. So I will be contacting you. I'm gonna be sending you scripts and everything else, and we're gonna talk.
Awesome, and also from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, just everyone, you're totally excellent, and thank you for listening.
Oh, there's the accent. Although I like the French accent much.
Alright, I'm Monique Genet. I'll talk like this now. Good, au revoir.
Au revoir, mon ami.
See you next time.
I love it. Diane Franklin, everybody.
Goodbye, guys.
Thank you for calling.